How we doing, everybody? It's Top One Talks once again with another YouTube video, and now I am back with my guy that I met off of TikTok. We've had tons of debates, we've had tons of arguments, we had tons of takes, and I want to bring him on because I feel like we have a lot of interesting things going on in the NBA. And I told y'all I was gonna have another person come on. It wasn't just gonna be me, right? It wasn't just gonna be me talking hoops in front of a camera. I was gonna get some different people on. And my first one is my guy that we've been doing this for a minute since I started TikTok about a year ago. And he was one of the first persons that I met, and we just clicked it off the jump. Just having that chemistry, having that fire for sports. And I wouldn't bring anybody on that I didn't feel like wasn't passionate about the game of basketball as much as I do, right? As y'all know, I love the game of basketball. Is what I want to do for my career. So I wouldn't bring anybody on that I felt like, for one, wasn't as knowledgeable. Like they were a casual, let's put it like that, a casual. And two, if they wasn't passionate about the game, they're just doing it just for fun. I feel like we both can make something out of this. And I'm glad you're on. You can introduce yourself?
What's going on, y'all? My name is Glore. My real name is AJ. From Minneapolis. I'm a big ass Celtics fan. Uh, I'm a moderator on Tops Live, so that's how I really got into TikTok and meeting other content creators and just saying my piece on the NBA where it is right now. Um, we have a lot of good basketball going on. And yeah, let's get talking about it because there's a lot of shit going on, bro. Let's get talking about it.
Yeah, for sure. And we can cover some of the games tonight. I mean, Giannis Antetokounmpo with 41 points, 15 rebounds, and 9 assists against the Chicago Bulls. And tonight it's Friday night. We're filming this late, so it was in-season tournament tonight. And those are the type of games where it's still regular season games, but they put a little bit more effort into these games because the stakes is higher. For me personally, I like that it was implemented into the NBA because now it makes the regular season more enjoyable and it makes it to where we can enjoy the regular season at the beginning of the year and it's something to cheer for. But that's one performance. Another performance, Anthony Edwards, a guy that we agree is going to be very good in the future. And we had a debate on TikTok with some people that apparently don't think that Anthony Edwards will win MVP sometime in his career. He's had a good start. He got injured and then he came back. I didn't think he was ready to come back. He had 15 points in this game back in MSG, but he got his rhythm. He had 37 points in 26 minutes and he had 29 points at halftime. Some more performances as well. Jokic is actually playing right now and he's on triple-double watch. He has 26, 9, and 9. We know what he's going to do. And also Jalen Duren. Jalen Duren is actually, I don't really talk about him a lot, but he's my favorite center in the NBA. I really like Jalen Duren, and I keep it 1,000% honest with him because I feel like sometimes he just doesn't have a high motor and all that strength and mobility and the skill that he has at that size and how young. Like Jalen Duren is only 21 years old, and now it feels like he's just breaking out. Now next to Cade Cunningham, he finds his rhythm. And he had a 20-20 game the other day. And today he had 30 and 12, 30 and 11, something like this. So he's been balling. And how do you feel? What do you let me ask you this. What do you think the best individual performance was today?
Giannis, it has to be. No, especially who he went up against, who I feel is the Chicago Bulls, a top five team right now. They're doing it on both ends. They came up with a really good game plan defensively, especially in the beginning of the first, to really hedge him, double him anytime he crashed out of court. He struggled for the first half, but then he started getting going in the transition, and from then on was just like causing the Chicago Bulls havoc. And it seems like he's got his spark back defensively as well. I know a lot of the big talk has been about Giannis kind of slipping the last couple of years defensively, and Miles Turner has came in and provided that rim protection Brook Lopez once did, and he's finding success being as a roamer, being in the disruptor in the PNR, which is probably the most important set of basketball. So I'm really like what I'm seeing from Giannis as a defender, seeing him be much more active and much more of a high motor than the last couple of years. And boy, oh boy, I gotta give this boy a shout out, Ryan Rollins from originally from Golden State, who had a bad moment. I believe it was he had something off the court to deal with, like I think it was like something petty. It was like a shoplifting or something petty like that, and really unfortunate what happened over there. But since he's came to Milwaukee, boy, has this kid blown the doors off of it. He's by far and away the best guard in the Bucks right now. They have
For
a lot of
sure.
people were screaming that KPJ, KPJ is the guard. He's the go-to guy. But Ryan Rollins has a different feel for the game. His shot creating ability, his IQ at this age is absolutely crazy. He just got a good feel for the game, and he's finding Miles Turner and Giannis in these open cuts in the fast break, causing havoc as a POA defender. He's a very talented young man. We need to keep some eye on.
Yeah, and some things about Milwaukee as well is that, last year I feel like they had more talent, right? They had Damian Lillard, they had Giannis, and they had like more apex superstars. But I feel like this team is better than it was last year because now you have more athletes. You got younger, right? You get Ryan Rollins, who comes in, he's a lot younger and he's more athletic than Damian Lillard, right? He can get downhill and put pressure on top of the defense, and he can still make plays. And he's a better point of attack defender, right? Like you said, at the on the perimeter. And then you have, Miles Turner, right? Brook Lopez is getting older. He's not as mobile as Miles Turner. So Miles Turner can still give you the 3-point shooting that Brook Lopez gave you, but now you get a better athlete. You get a guy that can guard in the screen and roll better. He can play on the perimeter and also screen set well, and he could be a lob threat. He's a lot faster and a lot younger than Brook Lopez, and then he can still protect the rim at I don't want to say the same level, but he's a good shot blocker as well. And then you just put all that athletic, that shooting around Giannis, and for me, I feel like they're a better team. What do you feel like?
Absolutely, they're much more defensively is the big improvement in my opinion. Last year they looked very slow, and then also that they looked old pretty much, and this year it looks like much more rejuvenized Bucks. I damn sure didn't see this coming. I don't think you saw this coming. Top, I saw them
Yeah.
as a play-in team. If not like the highest I saw them was a seventh seed. But to me, they could look the way they're looking right now. They could get a higher seed than that. Is it good enough for Giannis to stay? That I don't think. I still don't think this roster is good enough to keep Giannis. But if they're able to make some moves to acquire some talent and while also keeping Miles Turner and Ryan Rollins, who are both on friendly team contracts, I think they have something. They have a foundation they can build on if Giannis is willing to commit. But I don't think it's good enough, in my opinion.
Yeah, and going into the big game of the night, the Spurs and the Rockets, and it was interesting to me because I'm from Texas, so these are two teams that I guess you can call it a rivalry. I don't really know, but that was the best game of the night to me. It was the closest game for sure. A lot of these other games were blowouts, but um, I don't know how you feel about Kevin Durant, but Kevin Durant's a great scorer, right?
Hmm.
But everything else that he does, it just for
Meh,
me,
meh.
it's like they gonna hate me saying this, but it's like it's pretty mid, and that's why he can't be in that top 10 for me, because if he was just a little bit better at you know another aspect of offense except just scoring, then I could see him being in the top 10. And I feel like he could be competing for championships as the clear-cut best player, like being on the Thunder, not just joining forces with Steph Curry or Klay Thompson and all these guys. Because this is what's happened his whole career. You put double teams at him, you send triple teams at him, you gap him, like you send so much pressure on him, he just turns it over. He doesn't know what to do. Tonight he had 8 turnovers. And the game plan for the past 2 games have been simply just we gonna send everybody at Kevin Durant, right? The Grizzlies started it. They started sending guys at Kevin Durant, and he didn't score that much points. I don't know how many points he had correctly. I think it was around 15, but tonight you could see the pressure getting to him. It threw him completely off his rhythm. Even when he had one-on-one coverage with Harrison Barnes was playing him very good. And then it was a point where Ime was putting him in bad. It was making it easy for him to get double because now he's bringing the ball up the floor because he didn't want Ben Thompson bringing the ball up the floor anymore for some reason because I guess he was turning the ball over so much.
Him and Wemby were pissing me off by how much where they were ball handling and bringing up the ball. Like these aren't guys. Listen, these guys have good handles for a 7-footers. They don't have the type of handles that you can depend on to to bring the ball up. And I think Mitch Johnson has done a better job of navigating like the half court sets to free up Wemby, but Ime Udoka, like we got to talk about him. He gets a lot of credit, and as a Celtics fan, I appreciate Ime Udoka because I know how great of a defensive coach he is. But his offensive sets, his half court offenses, is so bland. Like there's no creativity to get Sagoon in certain actions. There's no double stagger screens at baseline to get Kevin Durant open, and where Kevin Durant is better. You know what I mean? Even though we all know how good Kevin Durant is as an ISO scorer, and you should still utilize how good he is in that area, and how good Sagoon is. Bro, Sagoon doesn't do that good of a job when he's facing like teams that have bigger bodies or have a good interior, right? Interior defense. He likes to use his size to bully smaller teams, and that's how he gets himself off. Whereas Kevin Durant is mainly a guy who thrives off ball with a lot of off ball motion and getting him in certain actions. And the creativity that I've been seeing from the Rockets, the fact that they're the number 1 rated offense while being this like mid in terms of creativity is scary. Like and one thing I want to give a shout out to, I want to get a shout out to Reed Shepard. Shout
For
out Reed
sure.
Shepard because he seems like he's been coming into his own. That's another guy that I don't feel is a guy who's great on ball. I think he's a great off ball player who's trying to be used as an on ball creator, and it's just that's not what type of player he is. You know what I mean? But I think this Rockets team scares me because it's like with all their shortcomings, without having a point guard, a primary ball handler, they're still able to find success because they're such a great defensive team. They put a lot of pressure on you. They out rebound you, and they also are shooting the fuck out of the ball right now. So like, how can you really stop this? How can I really criticize them and their shortcomings if they're the top rated offense and the top rated defense or the
Well,
second rated defense?
well, I'm gonna be on the other end, right? I think a lot of this little Rockets run where they're not going to be the number 1 offense after today. I think that's probably going to be Denver. But this little, I don't want to call it fluke, but it's kind of flunky because yes, they're their number 1 3-point shooting, three-point percentage team in the NBA, but they're 27th in 3-point attempts. So they rarely shoot the 3 ball. Like they rarely shoot it. And as you're watching the game, you can see why. Like it's either Kevin Durant. Their majority of their plays are being ran to get them a basket in the mid range, and the mid Thompson is not going to be a high volume, right? The only high volume 3-point shooter is Reed Shepard, and that worries me because in the playoffs, when you play teams like the Nuggets or even the Thunder, who is going to shoot a lot of threes, they're going to shoot you out of the game because it's a math game. You're a Celtics fan, so if I'm taking 15 to 20 more threes than you, even if I shoot a worse percentage, I'm gonna make more threes than you, which puts you in a bind because now I'm putting threes on the board and you're putting 2s on the board. So now it's just a math. So
The Thunder, I'm not that scared of. The Thunder, I'm not that scared of when it comes to 3-point shooting.
I agree, but at the same time, we can still shoot a bad percentage. But if I'm taking 49 threes and you're taking 32 threes and I shoot 20%, I might still make
the win, yeah.
Yeah, I might still make more threes than you, right? But it was one of them grind them out games where a lot of the majority of the Spurs points came off of Keldon Johnson. I feel like he's not even getting as much respect as he deserves because on the offensive glass, he was amazing tonight. He's been a big a big force in their offense all year, attacking the defensive and offensive glass, just playing hard, converting and ones. He's also been shooting the ball well. And Julian Champagne, him and Harrison Barnes, two of the only spacers on that team. And a lot of their threes came off of second chance opportunities from them getting these rebounds and then passing it out to these open 3-point shooters. But you rarely see the Rockets. I feel like the Rockets really got dominated tonight, like just punked. And you rarely see that from the Rockets because that's how they win, right? They win off of second chance opportunities and forcing turnovers. And tonight, the Spurs just played the Rockets' way, and they just did it better because both of them in the half court were terrible. Like the Rockets had 23 turnovers, the Spurs had 20 turnovers. Both of their stars were not good. Wembanyama, you can talk about him more, but Wembanyama, I mean, I got slack last year, a couple months ago for saying I don't think that Wembanyama is that much better than Halliburton. So in games like this is the reason why.
Listen, I think Wemby's going through what every star goes through. You know what I mean? Like the type of the coverages he's seeing is something he's probably haven't seen in a long time. Because of how great he is offensively now that he needs to get that type of attention or else he's gonna tear you apart, right? But I do think it's something that just comes with maturity. That the fact that people thought that his offensive game was polished enough for him to be a top 10 score or anything near that, like y'all need to chill with that. What I was trying to explain to you, Top, was that I understood the hype around Wemby because of how generational he is already defensively. You know what I mean? And what's the threshold for him to be how great he has to be as an offensive player compared to other players is there's a big difference. You know what I mean? Like it's like I don't he doesn't have to be as polished as everybody else offensively in order to really have an impact on the game because he's already so great defensively.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying, like because he's so great defensively, but when we're also putting him in these conversations where we're putting him top 5, like for me,
That is crazy.
y'all hate the comparison, but for me, Rudy Gobert, especially in his prime, like he was to the level, well, not to the level of Wembanyama because I think Wembanyama is better, but he was to that level where he's clear cut the best defender in the game, right? Defensive player of the year. When you come inside the Utah Jazz, or even when the Minnesota was the best defense in the league, right, right. When you see where Rudy Gobert led defenses, you have to change your approach. You got to change your game, and that's when you see Wembanyama. Like we have to play a different way. But offensively, yes, Wembanyama's better than Rudy Gobert. But it's like tonight he had 22 points. He played much better in the second half. It wasn't on high volume, but he was just turning over the ball left and right.
I understand, Top. I
and
understand.
left and right. Like how can I take a guy like Wembanyama he clearly has an impact, but I think that Halliburton has an even bigger impact because of he's taking his team to higher heights. His team has higher ceilings. His team has higher floors because of what he can do for your basketball.
I understand that, but I also am willing to understand that Hallie also had holes in his game, but the
Yeah,
roster around him was able to cover those holes to really maximize him as a player. And I don't think that with the Aaron Fox out, he has a half court player that can set him up in half court sets to overcome those inefficiencies he has in this game. You know what I mean? I think Dylan Harper going down hurts this team. I think even though Vassell's been playing out of his mind, I think Castles had also had turnover issues throughout the season. He needs to get that together, but he's a promising player when he has it turning on. But he doesn't have that consistent offensive hub to really maximize him in those moments and really not saying he has to completely ignore his inefficiencies, but I don't think his inefficiencies would be that much more present if he had a De'Aaron Fox on the court. And that's what I'm really excited to find out. What this team looks like with De'Aaron Fox on the court. Not in the transition because they're already a great transition team, right? But in terms of what he can do for them in the half court. and how he gets it going. This is a guy who ran sets, certain sets with the Kings in the PNR with Sabonis and found really good success, even though that wasn't a big part of their offense. In the 10-game sample size we did see of Wemby and De'Aaron Fox in the regular season last year before D Fox went down. I liked what I saw. I think that this is something that they can build on when he comes back. That can overshadow some of Wemby's flaws as an on-ball creator and some of the you know the flaws he has in terms of his stability, his ability to create on ball with certain pressure on him. And this is something that's gonna, I think, come together over time. Uh, reason why I don't think that the top five conversations were too much is because we haven't seen a sample size of him in the playoffs. Even if let's say he wasn't he wasn't dealing with the same issues he was offensively right now, and he was a top 10 player in terms of like score, right? He still has to perform in the playoffs in order for me to put him against
Yeah.
above guys like Anthony Edwards or Jason Tatum or Jalen Brunson, or even God forbid, Luka Doncic or Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. You know what I mean? So these are guys that not only can perform and affect you in the playoffs. I mean, not in the regular season, but also do it in the playoffs in the most important setting, which you just haven't seen Wemby in. You know what I mean? That's why we haven't put a guy like Zion Williamson, who has all the talent in the world, and has had a lot of regular season success. But he hasn't been able to. We haven't been able to see him in the playoffs, so we can't really gauge him compared to other players because he hasn't been healthy enough to go to the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think with Wemby is just like a two-edged sword because I feel like he's not good enough to play on the ball to where he can lead a team, but it's also where if he gets a certain piece around him to be able to be a play finisher first, then like he's a really, 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 really good player because there's certain things that you can do with Wembanyama if he has a point guard that you can't do with a whole bunch of bigs in the league, a whole bunch of bigs. So it's a two-edged sword. But moving on to the next topic, which is I have a Grizzly shirt on, right? And people off TikTok know I'm a John Morant fan, right? I'm a John Morant fan first, and so we all know there's some things going on with John Morant in the NBA. And today he had 21 points on once again 35% field goal percentage. His team won because Cedric Howard is looking like he's trying to take that Rookie of the Year, but it's not looking too good for Ja. It's really not looking too good for Ja, and for me, it's a him problem and it's a team problem because they're giving Ja what he wants, which is I don't think that should happen. Like he's my favorite player, but I'm gonna keep it honest. But also, Ja is not. He's
I'm gonna
him.
grab some water. I'm gonna be back.
Okay, so I'm explaining. So John Morant last year he wanted to get Taylor Jenkins fired because he didn't like the philosophy. He didn't like the offense that Taylor Jenkins and the coaching staff had came in with. Now that the Heat run that offense, well, y'all can see that the Heat run that offense, right? The offense where there's no screens, there's a lot of player movement, it's a lot of cuts, it's a lot of read and react, right? And that doesn't fit John Morant's play style because John Morant being 6'2", undersized, he's gonna need a good screen setter to free him up. So now using his speed to get past defenders, if the defender's playing back behind his back, now he has one-on-one with a big, and he can use his athleticism to get over the top or break cave a defense in and make plays around the perimeter. So he didn't really fit that offense. It really got him messed up a little bit, right? And it messed with his game and messed with his head, right? And so then Taylor Jenkins gets fired. And you bring in Thomas Islo. I think that's his name, Islo. Sometimes I don't know how to pronounce that. But you bring him in, the guy that I suppose that Ja Morant wants. I'm thinking this is the guy that Ja Morant wants. So you bring him in, and now he's bringing a European style of basketball to the NBA, which is a no-no. You cannot do that. You cannot coach the NBA like it's European basketball. This is the NBA. You're dealing with real deal superstars, the best player in the world. This is not Ricky Rubio and them over there in Europe where they're trying to work them their way to the NBA. You're coaching John Morant. And now John Morant's getting upset with this style where he believes that he wants to have fresh leg players come in. So he wants to play a ton of guys and he wants his stars to play 4 or 5 minute increments and then get taken out the game so they never find a rhythm, which is not good, right? It's not good. I don't think Thomas Islo right now is a good head coach for the Grizzlies. But at the same time, this is what John wanted to happen. Memphis made a bad decision, and they made a decision based off of we need to hurry up and find some because they fired their head coach in the middle of the season right before the playoffs. So now we got to hurry up and find a coach. We might as well lock him in long term because we don't want to go on the hunt for a new head coach when we got to find Jaren Jackson, right? We got to look at this roster. We got to make tons of moves. So they made a bad decision, and now John doesn't get along with the coach. And you have 2 bad years. Last year, he had a horrible year. Now you're having a horrible start. He's averaging like 20 points per game, which is the lowest of his career. And at this point, you make the decision with the coach. I don't think you should fire him because then you're just giving John what he wants, and he hasn't been shown for the past 3 years with him being injured, with him just not being at the level of production he was a couple years ago in 2022, that you get whatever you want. You can have whatever you want. We'll fire coaches for you. We'll bring in the guys that you want to bring in. You can get whatever you want. At this point in time, I think it's time for John Morant to leave the Grizzlies and just have a change of scenery. What do you think?
I think it's been time, to be honest with you. I think it's been time. Ja clearly does. It's not until you can see it by his body language, you can see it by his defensive motor when he's not involved in plays, and you can also see how the team performs when he's off the court. The team is better, has a better offensive rating when he's on the bench than when he's on the court. They're also better defensively. So it's like, what is Ja really doing for you right now in terms of being that impactful player? Now, I think in terms of what what's the market out there for Ja Morant? Who knows? I don't think there's a really I don't think NBA teams are really itching to really go jump on Ja right now, if I'm being completely honest. For what, $40 million a year? This is your franchise guy who's conducted himself like shit every single year, either dealing with injuries, um, or just shenanigans off the court. So what can you possibly get back for John Morant? Um, that would make it interesting for you to move him. Like that's really what I think that Memphis is stuck at. Like I don't think they want him in the building. I don't think they want him anymore. I think that they're stuck in between this place where they want to move him, but they can't because the value for him is not really that high right now. So they have to just let him. Probably just have to thug it out until he has a market that is willing to invest what's due for John Morant, because he's still a player with a very high ceiling. But the archetype of player that he is, we know that it doesn't age well in the league. The John Wall, Russell Westbrook, Derrick Rose type of players, those players don't have long longevity in this league, nor really success if we're talking about championship levels. Because this guy doesn't. I love Ja, and don't get it wrong. I love Ja. I think he's one of the best playmakers in the league. And is probably, when he's at his best, around the top 15 players in the league, and that's very valuable. But he doesn't have a real game outside of 8 feet. You know what I mean? Doesn't have a reliable jump shot. He's not really useful at all off ball. And he's a liability in defensively. So where could you really use him, right? Which can you really see from his game that's gonna translate? His game has been pretty much the same since he got in the league. What has he evolved in? Like,
Well, here's the thing for me. Now, you're a Boston Celtics fan. I want to hear your take and your opinion on this one. But in my opinion, I feel like the best 2 possible situations for John Morant, because I'm hearing a lot of rumblings and people don't understand. They don't know. But Miami, no. No. We already know about heat culture. They're gonna measure his waistline every single game. They're gonna have him do stuff he probably don't want to do, and then they're running the same exact offense that he just got upset with, and he got the coach fired for last year. No. While if I'm Miami, I'm not trading for Ja. Toronto, why would I give up RJ Barrett, who looks promising? He's younger. Also, we still have this young talent that we still need to figure out. And then add John Morant, a non-shooter, to a team that we know we can't shoot right now. Why would I do that? That doesn't even make any sense. So Toronto hangs up the phone. I don't want John Morant. Brooklyn, he's 26 years old, right? Like you said, he hasn't really gotten any better. So what am I bringing a 26-year-old in for that already we've seen his potential, but he's been past that for the past 3 years. And why would I give him my valuable picks when I can probably go get an AJ DeBesta or Darren Peterson or something like that in the draft and give it away for John Morant? For what? For what? Makes no sense, right? Talking about who else? I'm trying to think of another name. New Orleans. Why? Why would we put Ja with Zion? 2 injury-riddled stars. Makes zero sense. The only 2 situations for John Morant is Minnesota and Boston.
Fuck no.
Yes.
Fuck no.
Yes. No.
Hell no.
Look.
Hell no.
Hold on. This is why I say Boston. I'm gonna start with Boston, right? It's because John Morant benefits from space. When you give John Morant space, he can be a very, very, very good player, right? You have Derek White, you have Jaylen Brown, you have Josh Minot who can space a little bit. You have Sam Hauser. You have all these guys who can shoot. Tatum when he comes back, right? All he's going to do is raise y'all's ceiling because he can just be a playmaker. He can literally just be a playmaker. And when you have so much space around him and you have John Morant and Neemias Queta, who I think is a service screen setter, you put him in the pick and roll actions and you have Tatum and all these shooters around him, that's where he can thrive. That's where he can thrive. When you have a ton of shooters around him.
Are you done?
I'm telling. No, you're gonna tell me that you don't think you're there because Boston has this winning culture and this big huge culture. We understand.
No, it's not. I'm not even gonna tell you that. Have you met Joe Mazzulla?
Yeah, I know it.
Do you know who the fuck Joe Mazzulla is?
Yeah, I know.
Bro, fuck no. And fuck that. Even look at our system systematically. It's similar to a system that Taylor Jenkins was running when John Morant was out and injured, and that he came in. A lot of off-ball motion, a lot of stagger screens, and getting players involved off-ball. We don't run a lot of P&R. We don't run a lot of P&R. That's not a part of our. That's not a part of our system.
But you can add that though, and you add that with John Morant. That's amazing. With shooters around him.
For what? And hold on, that wouldn't even make money. That wouldn't even make sense financially either, because once we add Josh to the lineup, we'd have to give up either Jaylen Brown and Tatum, and I'm not doing that.
No, you don't, because $40 million. I think you can bring that in. Well. Anthony Simons. I don't know if you can make that trade because I don't know what you give up. But if anything, you don't give up Derek Rose.
Why the fuck would I give up anything for John Morant? Why the fuck would I do that? Like, why? Listen, John Morant is a talented star. I'm not trying to diss Ja, but in terms of it as a fit culturally or systematically, Boston is far from you said Miami Heat culture. What the fuck do you think the Celtics culture is? You think it's easy to play in Boston?
No, it's not. But the thing is that
no.
Those are the only 2 situations I think will work.
And John Morant in Boston media, you think that would work?
I believe it.
Fuck no.
I believe no. Look, here's why I say Minnesota.
No.
Because Minnesota is missing one. Well, they also are missing 2 things, but one of the biggest glaring issues is that they don't have a ton of playmaking on their roster. They don't have a lot of guys that make real good decisions. And Rob Dillingham, that's what they drafted him to do. He hasn't been able to do it at the level they want him to. He's still very young. Mike Conley's just getting older, right? He's only there to shoot the ball, right? He's been shooting the ball really well, but he's not there anymore. He's getting older. So
What
if you
happened
bring
to Shannon Jr.? What happened to Shannon Jr.? Because all these Timberwolves fans kept telling me about Shannon Jr. was gonna be this
wait, no,
was gonna replace Nikhil Alexander. Where the fuck is that?
yeah, but he's not a playmaker though. He's just the score. He's just the scorer. He's a
I
scorer.
know, but he hasn't had that much effect on the game
No,
that like y'all.
he hasn't been good yet. He hasn't been good, but I'm gonna give him some time. I'll give him some time because now his minutes is up and he has to find his rhythm. But if John Morant goes with Anthony Edwards, just the thought of that, right? Just the thought of that, and that's it's a little biasness in me speaking because I'm a fan of both of them. But they really need a playmaker. And John Morant, people don't understand. They just look at Ant and Ju and think that these guys are just rim runners. These guys are they're some of the best shooters in the NBA. The second best 3-point percentage in the NBA is the Timberwolves. And they're also a top 7 in attempts. So they shoot the ball a lot and they shoot it well. This is one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the NBA. You know the jump that Ant made last year. Julius Randle shooting the ball well. They got Dante DiVincenzo. McDaniels is shooting the ball really well. Mike Conley can shoot the ball really well. They have a ton of space. All they need is playmaking. You get a guy that will take care of the ball, that will set Ant up for success, that would set Julius Randle up for success. You just add that around.
You have to like whatever you have right now. You think is interesting. You have to give up some of that for Ja, right?
Yeah.
And listen, if I'm Memphis, you call me, right? If I'm Memphis, you call me about Ja Morant. Unless we starting with Jaden McDaniels, I'm hanging up that shit.
No.
Get the fuck out of here. What are you talking about?
And that's what Minnesota isn't doing.
That's what I'm saying. Though. That's what I'm saying. Though, Tom. If you're Memphis, you want younger players that you can build around JJJ. Like you don't. I'm not respectfully. I'm not taking Rudy Gobert at this age. I'm not taking Julius Randle. They don't fit the time frame.
But if you're the Grizzlies and you're expecting McDaniels back, that's probably the best player you're going to get from anyone. Minnesota's hanging up the phone, and you're not trading John Morant. You're not. If you're expecting players like McDaniels to come back on a trade,
what package would be interesting enough? Number one, the money aspect, because at that point they just gave Randall $100 million extension. They're paying Ant $200+ million. They're paying Rudy $200+ million. Where are you getting this money from to get paid John the extra 40 M's a year?
Rudy Dillingham in a first-round pick.
Huh?
Rudy Rob Dillingham in a first-round pick. And it's a valuable one, too, because I think it's the Jazz's first-round pick. Unless, like, it's the Thunders and like it has a whole bunch of swaps to it, but it could convey into a really good pick.
You would take that trade, Top?
For Ja?
Yeah.
9 times out of 10. But the only thing that scares me is that Rudy Gobert on the floor with the Timberwolves, he hurts them offensively, but even then they still have a even better offensive rating, and their defensive rating is like it goes from 133 when he's off the floor to like one.
Does Minnesota have any? I thought they traded all their first round picks for Rudy.
No, they have a 2026. Yeah,
they have their next year's.
Yeah, they have 2026 Jazz pick. So
yeah, bro. But when then who the fuck am I? So my lineup would be Ja.
Your defense would be horrendous. That's the only thing.
That's what I'm saying. Like it'd be Ja and McDaniels, Julius Randle, and Naz Reid.
Yeah, and your backup center would be Berenjay, the dude that they drafted in this year's draft. He would be They would be a super young team.
I mean, coming off the Rudy contract, I like that, but I don't even know if isn't Rudy making more than Ja? I think Rudy is
around the same, maybe. But I feel like you can talk the Grizzlies into it because you're going to say this is probably the best offer you're going to get. You don't have a big man right now, so we can give you Rudy Gobert, and then you probably give us like a Brandon Clark back. Give us like a Brandon Clark back. And we're going to give you a Jazz pick that could be very, 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 very valuable. So you could have like 3 picks in the top 15 to top 17. And then you get a young point guard, Rob Dillingham, who we never know. Maybe he needs to change the scenery too. You never know what he could turn out to be too.
Well, hold on. Why? In my opinion, I don't think Minnesota should do that. Here's why.
That's too much.
Yes, because if I just wait this year out and I don't panic, I could go get Trae Young during the summer. Why would I waste my money on Ja when I can go get Trae
Wait.
Young
But
the next
that would
year?
have to be a one-on-one straight up trade. You know that, right?
What'd you say?
Hold on. The thing about the thing about the Hawks is they have no leverage on Trae Young, so that would have to be a one-on-one swap at the deadline because Trae
No,
Young.
I'm saying no. I'm saying I'm waiting till the summer when
You
he's an
can't because
unrestricted
Trae
free
Young's
agent.
a free agent in the summer.
Yeah, he's a free agent. I'm gonna sign him.
So what are you gonna do with Ja? You're gonna just dump him?
No, I'm saying if I'm Minnesota, not Memphis. If I'm Minnesota, I'm going to get Trey.
But not if you have Rudy Gobert. Because if you have
We'll
Rudy
trade
Gobert,
him. We'll trade him for fucking assets or for a salary dump. We're probably gonna trade him to somewhere where he could just where we can trade him for picks or swaps and just trust in Nas Reed.
I think John Morant would be better in Minnesota than Trae Young.
Huh?
I think John Morant would be better in Minnesota than Trae. I think John Morant is a better
Why
player.
the fuck do you think that Ja would be better in Minnesota than Trae
I
Young?
think John Morant's a better player than Trae Young. That's why. Okay, so hold on. We're not gonna act like Trae Young wasn't doing the same thing John Morant's doing at the beginning of the year. We're not gonna act like that. And one's injured and one's healthy. So they're both playing bad, but one's injured and one's healthy. So who am I gonna
No, it's not about that. It's not about that. One is a fucking immature, injury prone fuck. The other one is actually playing games and it has the motor and is at least trying. John
but
Moran is a brat. Why the fuck would I bring in a brat? He's
but
a
but
brat. He's not a good for the locker room. I don't want him. He's not good. He's not going to be a good leader, and he's not consistent enough because he's not durable. At least Trae Young is a little more durable. Like, what are we talking about?
hold on. Trae Young right now, they're both not playing good. But Trae Young's gonna want to get paid. Trae Young
Trae
is
Young was playing better than Ja. Well, he's right now.
this year.
Playing better than that in terms of playmaking. His shooting splits weren't good, but at least he wasn't. His team wasn't that much better when he was off the court. John Moran is on the team where they're better when he's off the court than when he's on it.
I think it's the same way with Trae Young. I think that the Hawks are better when Trae Young was off the
You're
floor.
drunk. No. What?
Yes. Hold on. Here's the thing with Trae Young though. Trae Young's gonna want to get paid. He knows that Minnesota's not gonna give him the amount he wants because the Hawks won't do it. If the Hawks won't give you the amount you want, then I know dang well that Minnesota won't do it. Minnesota's not gonna do that.
Listen, Atlanta's some idiots. Okay, Atlanta are some idiots. They have a
They're
horrible
not
front
idiots.
office.
They're smart.
They
No,
have
no,
a horrible
Atlanta
front
is
office.
smart.
They have a horrible front
No,
office.
that's the one decision that the front office is making that's good.
They have a
Let's
horrible
wait
front
and
office,
see.
bro.
Let's wait and see what our star player is going to do for us because this is the best roster he's ever had. And guess what? Trae Young has started the season off terribly, and he's already injured.
Listen, all I'm saying is, as a playmaker, as a player who actually has the game outside of fucking 8 feet, right? Unlike Ja, this man, his game is actually much more complete offensively.
Wait. You know what Trae Young's shooting from three?
Bro, this man is shooting 54% at the rim. I don't give a fuck.
What is Trae Young shooting from three?
He's shooting. What is he shooting from three?
19%.
Listen. When you know Trae Young, hold on. All I'm saying is, hold on. Listen. All I'm saying is,
19. That's supposed to be your shooter.
hold on. Ja, hold on. Listen. Comparative to Ja, he's a better shooter than Ja Morant. That's all I'm saying. He's better than that nigga. I'm not saying he's this like he's the elite 3-point shooter. He came in when he was the second year of the league. He's regressed from in that area, and a lot of that has to do with the team construction around him, right? He didn't start off too good this season, but there's a lot of new pieces. A new what's it called? It was a brand new season. I think he was just starting to adjust before his injury. Ja doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt. That nigga is a bum. Okay, he doesn't have any game outside of 8 feet. His rim pressure has declined. This man is shooting 54% at the fucking rim. 54%. That's your whole mojo. That's the only reason why you're useful on the court is because your rim pressure allowed you to create advantages for your teammates and interior reads and kickouts. If you're not able to do that for us, you're a fucking dog shit off ball. You're not good catch and shoot. You go sit in the corner and you fucking whine. And on top of that, you got gun charges you are fighting left and right. And the nigga can't stay on the court because his knees hurt all the time. It's Swiss cheese. At least Trey Young don't have half the issue that nigga has. You know what I mean? I'd rather
Okay.
have Trey, bro. If I'm being honest, I'd rather have Trey.
Okay. Let's move on from the John Morant point. But here's another topic.
Nigga, don't you ever say John Morant in the Celtics name in the sentence again, nigga. I don't ever want that nigga on my team.
I think it's a good fit. But moving on to the second point of today's pod is that are you buying the Lakers contenders talk? Because for me personally, I wasn't high on the Lakers coming in. I just looked at the roster and I said, okay, I seen Marcus Smart play for my Grizzlies, right? I seen Jake LaRavia play for my Grizzlies, right? I'm not too high on these guys anymore, right? Jake LaRavia, he's cool. Marcus Smart, he looks really good now, but it looked like he was on the decline, right, from what he was in 2022, 23, right? And Ayton, he's cool, but he has a low motor, right? I believe in Luka Doncic and I believe in Reeves and LeBron, right? And you could say the roster got better because they was worse last year, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, the Thunder is going to get better. The Nuggets, look what they did. I think Minnesota and their continuity is going to be here. It's going to be a top 4 seed this year. The Rockets, they added Kevin Durant. Like every team in the West got better too. And I wasn't too high on them. I thought they were going to be max a 5 seed, but right now they're right behind the Thunder as the second seed. And they're 7-2, and they're on a 5-game winning streak. So, are you buying? I know it's early in the year. Are you buying this talk that the Lakers are contenders in the West?
No, no. And it's not their offense. I think their offense is absolutely amazing. I think JJ Redick has been amazing so far, especially considering the injuries he's had to his two main stars. The rise of AR helping them, through the storm, and even though it wasn't against the best competition, I think that they were just getting by those games, bro, based off their offense. And when their offense last year was amazing as well, that was never their issue. Their issue was their interior defense, right? Right now, I think they rank second to last in terms of points allowed in the paint. That's not going to get you anywhere. You know what I mean? And I think DeAndre Ayton, even though he's been pretty solid in terms of his role offensively, um, and he's shown some stretches to play off of LeBron and AR. I mean, I'm not LeBron, but Luke and AR. I think has shown some promise offensively, but that was never something I don't think anybody who watched DeAndre Ayton ever had a criticism, even though his motor and his screen setting ability is absolutely abysmal. I think we all know that he's a talented player in terms of self creating in that high to mid post in the elbow area. And he's somewhat of a lob threat. You know what I mean? But the defense, he's shown certain spurts against the Spurs and against the Timberwolves, but I don't think he's the level of an interior defender that you need to be in order to compete with the rest of the West, where you have to see OKC that has Chet and Hardenstein and all that rim pressure over there. You have to deal with the Nuggets with Jokic. You have to go deal with the Rockets with Sagoon and KD and the meantime like these are pretty big teams that dominate in the interior. And if you want to be able to keep up with these teams, you have to be good defensively, and that's where they're lacking. They're not that good defensively. I think they're giving up 116 points, 116 points a game. I think that's the second highest out of all the qualifying playoff teams. So yeah, they're just not good enough defensively in order for me to put them in that conversation. If they had like a good if that Dalton Connect trade had went through and they had a Mark Williams or a good interior defender, I think I'd have more hope for them. But they're not good. They're not good enough defensively in order to make a run to be considered a contender. So no, yeah, I don't believe in that shit.
Okay, well, I feel like I don't want to jump the gun too early with them. I think that they're capable of going on these type of stretches, and they're doing this all without LeBron. They've also had tons of injuries early on. Lucas missed half of the games, and Austin Reeves missed 2 games. Uh, so you have to throw guys like Nick Smiths Jr. in there, like guys that shouldn't even be getting playing time. Bronny James as well, and that's a testament to Coach Reddick. Coach Reddick, he's done a lot of good things so far. They're playing really well, and for the injuries that they've had early. But I mean, you can make an argument that you think they're contenders because of how decimated their team has been, missing Gabe Vincent, missing LeBron, and everything. But also, I'm like, okay, the Suns started out 9-2 last year, and I don't want to jump the gun and just say they're contenders yet, but I will say they are checking those checkpoints, right? In order to be a contender, you have to have a good start, right? You're going to go through adversity. What does your team go do when you're going through adversity? What does your team do when we have like 5 games in 7 nights where we got a back to back here and we got a long road stretch and then we got a back to back the next week as well. Like what can we do? The champions, right? They pass through those checkpoints and they get through those with a great record at the end of the year or a top 3 seed, right? So I feel like right now they're checking the first checkpoint to me, a good start. 7-2, they're second in the West. They're exceeding a ton of expectations. Now, for me, you're gonna have to beat adversity. You're gonna have to your top players. I believe they can play like this all year, but let's see your team as a whole, right? And they're gonna have to continue this for a whole season. And if we get to March and if we get to April or after the All-Star break and we say, okay, the Lakers are a top 4 seed. If I feel like the Lakers are a top 4 seed at that point at the All-Star break, I will really start to say, okay, they might really be contenders because I have a lot of faith in Luka Doncic and what he can do to elevate a basketball team with his scoring, with his playmaking, and his ceiling raising. But I feel like they're checking those checkpoints, and I'm not going to jump the gun too early, but they are on their way so far. For sure.
No, I don't believe it, bro. Top, I don't believe it. I don't believe it, bro. I just, I, I refuse to believe a team that's this bad defensively is going to be able to win a championship. It's if they run into the OKC Thunder and they start playing the same zone that the Nuggets were, right? And let's say they're effective enough to get the win. I don't think that they'll be able to do that all 3 rounds against everybody. You know what I mean? I don't think that they have the defensive tools to really keep teams and hold. You know what's going on right now with Draymond and KD. You know what KD said.
Yeah, for sure.
You,
You
you
have
know
to
what I
be a
mean?
top 10 offense, top 10 defense. Like you said, I agree with Dre.
I think offense is more important in my opinion than defense slightly, right? But I think that defense is very important as well if you want to win a championship. You know what I mean? All the teams that have won championship of recent memory, the OKC Thunder were a great defensive team, even though they lacked in their offense. Like they had a mediocre offense at times, especially in the half court. They were still able to win a championship. The year before, the Celtics had the second ranked defense behind the Timberwolves. The year before that, the Nuggets played really good defense, and when when the playoffs rolled around in 2022, the Warriors were actually a better defense than they were offense. So on, so like the Bucks, same for the Bucks, same for the Lakers, same for the Toronto Raptors. These This is the consistency of of teams that have been in an elite defense when playoff time has come and had some great defensive units, and that was a big reason on why these teams were able to win a championship, right? I don't think the Lakers defense is good enough for them to compete with the OKC Thunder, with the Denver Nuggets. Once you do you know what Jokic is going to do when he sees DeAndre Ayton?
No, I agree. Yes, I do. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I don't think
Like
you know.
he's going to eat that man alive.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to jump the gun early and go to because I still think there's no chance they beat Denver. I think there's no chance they beat Oklahoma City. But everybody else in the West, I think they can beat. But I
So how
think
can you call them a contender if you don't think they're going to
no,
be?
no, I'm not. I'm saying they're not contenders yet. But if we get to that point where they're at the All-Star break in our top 14, then we can maybe indulge in those conversations. Like we
I
can
don't
maybe
care how good they. I don't care how good they are in the regular season as well. They're gonna top. They're gonna win 30. They're gonna win like 25 to 30 games just based off how good their offense is gonna be alone. Like they were top. They were what? Were they a 6 seed? Wait, what seed were they last year? 5th seed?
no, they
6
were a
seed?
3 seed. They were the 3rd seed.
They were the 3rd seed last year. So and where the fuck did they get them against the Timberwolves with a 6 seed?
But they didn't have Luke all year though.
I know, I understand that. Look, that's fine. Their offense was fine against the Timberwolves. It was their defense that lost. It was Rudy Gobert getting a KG level game that was the reason they lost.
Yeah,
The,
I know
the
their
offense had
defense.
nothing to do with them
Yeah,
losing.
I agree, but also you got to think like DeAndre Ayton. No, he can have tough defensive stretches, but also in the last like 2 games or so, he's been playing really well on defense. And Marcus Smart, like him with his foul grifting and just being in the right spots and trying to draw charges and
Bro,
stuff like
top,
that.
top.
He's a solid defender still right now.
He's been playing good for DeAndre Ayton standards, not the threshold to beat fucking OKC and Denver Nuggets. Like I get, bro. I hate when we do this with players where, okay, I'm gonna use this thing as an example, but I do think he deserves his prop. Luca, right? Luca is getting props from how good he's playing defense, but that's because we've seen how bad Luca has been defensively. You know what I mean? So same with Aiton. Just because Aiton is playing like a good amount of defense, like a good enough level of defense to get by, whether it's serviceable, doesn't mean he meets the threshold to be a championship contender into your guy. Like, no, he's not. He's not providing you any value. He's gonna be a fish out of water when he goes up against OKC. And he has to see Shea coming at him. He has to see Lou Dort coming at him. J Dub coming at him. Chet, Holmgren. You know what? Though he's gonna get eaten alive. These are teams. Even the Rockets are gonna fuck them up. The Timberwolves are gonna fuck them up. Like, this is not a team that can compete if they don't have a guy who can hold it down in the interior. And Aiden's just not good enough. He's good at like enough in those areas to get you a top seed in the regular season. But in a 7 game series where teams are specifically trying to hunt him down because they know he's the weak link in terms of the interior line, the interior, I'm gonna just attack him the entire night. And he doesn't have a high mortar enough for you to believe that he can maintain this level of defense throughout the entirety of his season, let alone after a 82 game season, and you're asking him to go up against the OKC Thunder, the Nuggets, the Warriors, the any team. You're gonna be screwed. Like, don't believe in the hype. And if anything, top, the only way I'm believing in this team is if they go out and get a guy who's great in the interior and trade some pieces to go out and get. This is just hypothetically, but this is the only player. This is the only archetype of players that you would need to in order to convince me this team is a title contender. You need a 3-and-D wing, or like just a wing in general, like an Andrew Wiggins or DeAndre Hunter, and you also need another big. You need a fucking Walker Kessler or Nick Claxton, and I don't see them getting any of these players anytime soon until LeBron leaves in the free agency. So your best move is for you to just enjoy the regular season, enjoy the Lakers show, because they're going to be a first round fucking exit if they face any team with a good interior, and just enjoy what we have while we have LeBron right now, because this team is not going anywhere near a fucking championship, nowhere near that shit.
Okay, that's your opinion. We'll see. We'll see. I wasn't high on them coming in, and I just feel like if I didn't acknowledge the way that they've been playing right now, then I would be being disingenuous. But
No, they're doing great right now. Shout out JJ Redick, shout out Luka,
yeah,
shout out
shout out
AR,
Reddick for sure.
shout out
For sure.
Lavravia, shout out Rui. I think they deserve their props. Shout out Aiton. They've been hooping.
Yeah.
But let's be realistic, brother. Let's be realistic.
All right. Moving on to the next one. Now, this is the last probably one that we'll talk like long about, because the next ones should go pretty quick. But do you think the Bulls will finish the top 4 seed? Like, are you buying
No,
the Bulls? Are you buying their stock? Like,
fuck no, Fuck no.
So if you was to name based off of what you've seen, right? The Bulls they lost tonight, so I think they're like tied with second and third. But based off what you've seen, what are the top 4 to 5 seeds you feel like will be over the Bulls?
I mean, so far, they've indicated they're capable of it. But I just don't think that I think we need to be realistic about their schedule, right? They had the easiest schedule in the NBA outside of I think it was them and the 76ers had the easiest schedule in the league, right? So that's why we saw them, the 76ers and the Chicago Bulls, start off to an amazing run, and they deserve their credit. But they've lost to the Knicks. They've lost to the Milwaukee Bucks. I think now we're just starting to understand, like other teams are starting to understand their lineups in their feel and their identity and finding their identity. And I think once other teams start to get comfortable, um, they're not going to be in the upper echelon of like all the. They're not going to be a top 5 team in the league, which they are right now. I don't believe in this roster enough. I like Josh Giddey. I think Josh Giddey has entered that conversation to an all-star level player. I think he'll probably be all-star level caliber, right? And the fact that he was able to do this without Kobe White was like pretty impressive. But I don't I don't think this team is a top 4 seed. I think they may be capable of it. Like if one team, if they do it, like the Falcon, the Hawks right now are dealing with an injury with Trae Young. If Trae Young is not able to come back fully healthy, they can sneak into that 4th spot. But in my opinion, if Trae Young comes back and is healthy and Orlando figures out their stuff, I think it's going to be the Knicks, Cavs, Orlando, and Hawks. I still believe that's the
So
top 4 teams.
yeah,
If not, it's the Pistons. If not, like take out the Hawks if you want to and replace them with the Pistons. I think the Pistons have deserved that spot.
So you think that the Orlando Magic are going to climb from the bottom of the East to top 3?
Yeah, top 4. Yes, I think Orlando is really good. I think Orlando's a team that's has struggled, but I just watched the game against the Celtics. I saw a lot of things that
Yeah, you saw
man,
Paulo
Paulo.
out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Paulo.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I love
Hold on,
Paulo.
hold on. Like, Paulo Banchero and Desmond Bain, you think there'd be a match made in heaven, but Paulo Banchero's been stinking it up for the majority of the beginning of the regular season, and Desmond Bain in his last 3 games is averaging 7 points. They've been stinking it up. They almost lost today. They had a lead, and they gave it up. They gave it up.
Yeah, good. Too bad. Too bad. My Celtics have been even worse than they have in the beginning of the season. So, I think though I think we need to give this team a little bit of grace. I think they have some new pieces. They have a pretty young coach that's still trying to figure it out. I think as the season comes along, they'll start to have more continuity because it doesn't feel like to me that they have a lot of chemistry out there, to be honest. And the same defensive identity they've been have before. I don't think I see that any team anymore. I don't see the same type of motor or interior defense that I've seen from this team than what they've been capable of. This team used to cause the Celtics havoc back in like 22, 23 because of their length and their size and how athletic they were. I'm just not seeing that same type of energy on that end. And that's really their identity. It's not their identity has never been their offense, even though that's what we were most excited to find out about what this team was capable of. It was their defensive identity that's been, top 5, top 10 for the last couple of years, and we've been wondering what they can build on. That being said, for the love of God, can you start Tyus Jones? Like, I'm sorry. Like, I fuck with Jonathan Black. I like Jalen Suggs. Jalen Suggs is from my city. I fuck with Jalen Suggs. But first of all, he needs to go bold and bring his ass off the bench to provide some energy, right? And for the love of God, please go to Turkey. Him and Jalen Brown need to go to Turkey, nigga. Cut it off.
And you know what I call him? I call him Spraylon Brown.
Spray.
Hey, I seen him today trying to rub his like for some reason I'm like he's trying to do it on purpose. Like when he goes to the paint, like he'll duck his head down and try to rub his head on the defender.
Yeah, he found. I think it was when we played the Wizards. Keontae George. He caught Keontae George lacking too.
They was trying to. Bub was like, It was like, oh my God, like
Again, he got another one, but nah. But I still believe in Orlando. I still think they're gonna be, a top five, top four seed in the East. They just need to figure out their shit. I think that's gonna come with time, though. I don't think this team is gonna be good until December rolls around. I think they're gonna continue to struggle a little bit, hover around that 500 mark. But the East is so weak that they don't have to be good. They don't have to be good right now. They can afford to, you know, just try to figure out their shit right now, because it's not like they got a gauntlet of the East. The West is completely different. The West, you can't have, if you a stretch of bad games might be the difference between you making a playoff seeding and you being outside of the play-in. You know what I mean? So like, we already know how competitive the East was the West was last year. Like, I think the Memphis Grizzlies were the 8th seed and they were a 48-win team. That's almost a 50-win team that didn't make the fucking playoffs. Like, that's crazy. You know what I mean? Whereas the East, like, you can get in with hovering around above 500 during All-Star break and just go on a run where you can get a top five seed out of nowhere if you have a good stretch of basketball. And I think that Orlando is one of those teams that will blossom. They're going to blossom a little later because they don't have a real half-court playmaker as of right now outside of Tyus Jones. They have Jalen Suggs, Desmond Bain, Paulo Franz, and Walter Carter Jr. out there trying to figure it out in the half court, and it's not looking good. It's looking worse than it did last season, looking just as bad, right? But I think they're once they bring in Tyus Jones into the lineup and bring Jalen Suggs and Jonathan back off the bench, I think it'll spark and just involve them just more action off ball. I think it'll provide a lot of continuity and um you know raise the ceiling of this half court. But until they do that, I don't think they're going to continue to struggle.
well, my thing is that um they have a nice opportunity, the Bulls, a huge opportunity because you can say the Magic, you believe in them to get back to that point. I don't know. I'm a little bit optimistic because Paolo's been so dang bad. Like I don't understand. Paolo has been very, very, very bad. Desmond Bain hasn't really shown me anything. So I'm a little bit optimistic on them, and I don't believe in their bench's offense. And you like you said, their identity is defense, and they haven't really been doing that this year. I don't know what it is or what's changed because KCP wasn't their best defender, and KCP wasn't bringing some type of culture to the point where you're saying, okay, you lose KCP, then we lose our whole culture and our defensive identity. No. Maybe they'll be better when they get Mo Wagner back because he brings them another bench piece off the bench. But I don't know. I think their slow starting is kind of scaring me a little bit. And the Hawks, I think will still, they'll get back in their groove of things. But if you look at the top teams in the East, it's really right now it's Philadelphia. The Bucks, who we didn't even think were gonna be at the top of the East. The Knicks and the Pistons, right? And I think the Pistons, the way that Jalen Duren and the way that Kate Cunningham has been playing, I think they have a good chance to finish top four this year. And if you're telling me you need to beat it, because you're not going to beat out the Knicks, you're not going to beat out the Pistons. The Bucks is arguable. That fourth spot's probably is up for grabs, and I think they can. I think they maybe can get it. They just got to beat out Philly. They had that thriller win against Philly the other night, and Philly. Who knows with Philly? Anything can happen with Philadelphia. Like I would never solidify anything ever in my life with Philadelphia. So that fourth spot's up for grabs. I think they have a chance, but it's really a big, huge accomplishment for Chicago to even say we're looking like we're going to make the playoffs this year. Like we're going to be a playoff lock because Indiana's out the equation. You know how I feel about your Celtics. I feel like they're out the equation.
Oh no, we're not. Oh no,
yeah.
we're not. Can I say something? Can I say something about my Celtics real quick? Listen, Joe Mazzulla, I love him to death. But some of the lineups that he's been running, I feel like he's just been experimenting and trying to figure out
He
where
has
guys
to.
are at.
He has to.
Yeah, no, and I think he's kind of like he started Hugo Gonzalez at the 2-1 day against I think it was the second game of the season. He started Hugo Gonzalez in MSG in the second game of the of opening like of the season. You know what I mean? I think he's just trying stuff out there, and I think he's seen a lot of success from certain guys like Josh Minot. Shout out Josh Minot. I think he's been playing amazing for us as a guy who's provided a lot of energy defensively. You know what I mean? He's causing turnovers. He's playing the passing lanes. He's crashing the board. He's knocking down corner threes. I think that's something that we've discovered through Joe Mazzulla's just awkward coaching styles. You know what I mean? By keeping the other coach on their toes by having random lineups. You know what I mean? He's gonna sub in and out guys constantly, and he's seen some things he likes, he sees some things he doesn't. But one thing that I have found interesting is that like some of the young guys, I think we have a bright future in terms of defenders. Hugo Gonzalez is a very good defender. Josh Bernard is a very good defender. And if these guys are able to maintain their 3-point shooting, right? If they're able to be guys that can come in, knock down shots, and just be these hounds defensively, I think we got a good core in terms of the young guys. The only thing is though, we're a good defensive team, but when it comes to rebounding, we're one of the worst. We don't get to the free throw line enough either. That's been a struggle. We're not getting to the free throw line, and these are times I just miss Tatum. You know what I mean? Like this is just like we're struggling with rebounding. Guess who the best rebounding wing is? Tatum. You know what I mean? We struggle to getting to the line. Guess who got to the line fairly frequently? Tatum. You know what I mean? When we're going on bad stretches in half court where Jaylen Brown just wants to do an ISO fucking situation and like fucking swing his little spray on fucking hairline around and trying to struggle to score in the half court. Like this is times I miss Tatum because this guy involved, Derek White and Payne Pritchard. Listen, these are guys I love, but these guys have been absolutely disgusting from three. Like absolute like T words when it comes to how they've been shooting the ball. And I don't expect that to continue. I think these are guys that deserve the benefit of the doubt that they'll get their shit together when it comes to the 3-point shooting. I think they'll start to ramp it up as December comes around. And when we get it going from three, I think it will start to offset, some of the issues that we're having right now. But because Jaylen Brown is the only like scoring threat out there consistently, it just leaves it kind of leaves us in a place where we're staying in games, we're staying engaged defensively, and we're staying close enough, but we're not able to close out games and just have that extra gas because guys are just knocking down shots. Anthony Simon's not knocking down shots consistently. Payne Pritchard is not. Um, and Derek White's not. So if those three guys are not able to knock down shots, we're not gonna have a chance. But I think they will start to, and once they do, I think we're going to be a top 6 seed in this East. I think this East is very weak. I think we're going to be good enough defensively where I think right now we're giving up 109 points per game. Once we start hitting threes, I think that we're going to be a very dangerous team.
Okay, well, moving on to next, we can run through these ones because my camera's actually gonna die, so we gotta run through these. But we gonna give our quick take. So I'll start it off. The question is who do we think that's gonna be a first time All Star? And in my opinion, in the East, Josh Giddey for sure. That's the common one.
Yep.
Josh Giddey. In the West, I'm gonna go Jamal Murray. I think Jamal Murray is gonna be an All Star this year. I think Jamal Murray's
What?
going to be a first-time All-Star. The way that he's been playing to start the year, he's looked really good early. He's been in shape, and he's winning. He's helping winning these games. He had a great game today, and I think Jamal Murray, he should have already been an All-Star, but it's been tough to get there. But I think you can make an argument that he's playing better than Steph Curry right now. So I think Jamal Murray is going to be a first-time All-Star, in my opinion. But you can go ahead.
You said the obvious one in Josh Giddey.
Yeah.
Another guy I think that deserves love is Alex Sarr. I think Alex Sarr, just because how it's not the big man position in the East is not that really deep.
That's true.
Um,
Oh. Jalen Duren as well. Jalen Duren.
Oh yeah, Jalen Duren is another good one. I think
Jalen Duren. He can be an All-Star this year.
Jalen Duren can also be an All-Star. Oh, let me say it. Ryan Rollins. I think Ryan Rollins can make an All-Star game this year.
That's a little bit off the edge because
No, he's been playing like it.
he's
It just put
gonna Cade, Donovan Mitchell, and Brunson are gonna take up 3 of those spots.
okay.
Josh Giddey's gonna take up another one. Tyrese Maxey's gonna take up another one. Yeah, so he has no chance.
Okay, man. Okay, maybe not
Yeah,
Ryan
yeah,
Rollins. Maybe
yeah.
not Ryan Rollins, but I think he deserves to be in contention for it. Especially if there's an injury or something. But yeah, Alex Sarr, Keontae George. Shout out to Keontae George. He's been hooping too. Anybody from Atlanta? Jalen Johnson. Jalen Johnson deserves All Star nods as well. I would love to say Derek White, but that motherfuckers. Oh, Jalen Brown's gonna get it. Derek White is not gonna get it as of right now, but
Who would you see
eventually.
in the West? You say Keontae George?
No, no, yes, Keontae George has been playing amazing so far. I think if he's able to maintain the level of play he's been having the last like 2 games, I think he can probably push press in there. Laurie Market is probably gonna make it in. Zach LaVine's gonna make it in.
Yeah,
Um,
he's been an All-Star though, hasn't he? Zach LaVine.
yeah, Zach LaVine has been an All Star, I think, before. Laurie Markin has as well. These are
Yeah,
just guys I'm thinking.
2023. Yep. But the last question is, what is your early MVP? Who's your early MVP front runner right now? Who would you say is leading the MVP race? Your too early MVP race.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Okay, so we mutually agree on that one. We hear a lot of people say Luka. How do you feel about some people just saying that Luka leads the race because he's averaging 40 right now?
Luka's a good candidate. You know how much I love Luka. Back to me, you were just arguing who's better between Luka and SJ last night. Um, Even though we need to have that discussion again. But anyways, I think Luka. I love Luka to death. I think he's probably second in my opinion. But just what Giannis has been doing, and I think he's played a couple more games as well. He hasn't missed as much time as Luka has. Um, so yeah, that's why I'd probably give you Giannis the nod is because of what he's doing offensively and defensively as well, and just been a little bit more durable. So yeah, I
Yeah,
gotta give the
I
nod to
give it to
Giannis.
Giannis. I know Luka's averaging 40, and it's some things that haven't been done since like
It's
Will
fucking
Chamberlain.
crazy.
But Giannis, like I said to Low Tier the thing today, I said, bro, Giannis is just because he's not giving you the 40, he still give you 33, 34, while also being a legit defensive anchor dang near, rebounding and playmaking. And he's made it a point of emphasis this year to crash the glass. So therefore, when his teammates miss his shots, he's finishing majority of his teammates' missed shots. Like he's doing everything for his team while being more durable. Like he's there pretty much every single night. So him doing that while being there pretty much every single night and doing that on both ends of the floor just means something. Like, and to me, I think the production, because I think this is how the voters think now, because this is how the media is starting to. I call this the Tatum effect. We look at a team, a person's team a lot. Like I feel like you have a better nod now if your team is high in the standings and your team is worse than the others. So I think the Bucks, they don't really have the greatest team. I think they're better than what they were last year, but I don't think they're better than the Lakers. So him having a worse team and being still top 3 in the East and tied with the second seed in the East, it means something. Like if you take Giannis from that team, you remove him from that team, they're bottom of the East and they're probably the worst teams in the NBA.
Yeah,
So that just makes him. I think if Giannis finishes as a top 4 seed, there's no debate he should be the MVP. No debate.
I agree. I think Giannis doesn't get enough love, bro. I think he's kind of been overshadowed by Jokic
And
a little bit
the voters fatigue.
and voters fatigue. But I think we need to appreciate what Giannis is doing right now because I know Wemby is the new hot thing in terms of like, oh my God, this is a freak guy that big, you moving like this. Giannis in his own right has kind of been something similar throughout his entire of his career, bro. He's he's something that we genuinely haven't seen before. So like,
Yep.
I think what he's doing, his dominance, his consistency, um, yeah, he deserves an MVP right now. He definitely deserves it.
For sure. But that's the end of this podcast. And I appreciate you coming on, Glore. It was some nice talks. We talked ball for about an hour and 20 minutes. And for sure going to have you on for more times. And I appreciate everybody that watched this video. If you could like and subscribe, that would be okay. I'm not asking for it, but if that would be fine if you want to stay up to date, because we grinding over here. We trying to reach that main goal. But I appreciate you. You have any last words for yourself? Or you want to shout out some of your stuff as well?
Yeah, my TikTok is BeanC7. It's Galore, Hoop Galore. I got my own podcast that Top is on as well. It's called Court of Opinion. We're on Playback. We're on YouTube. If we post every, I like to say every Monday or so. Try to at least get a couple videos out a week. But yeah, Top, appreciate you for having me on, brother.
Yeah, we should do in playback as well. We should all get in there and watch a game or something like that.
Yeah, we got to. Some
Yeah.
guys don't got league pass, but once we got everybody who got league pass, we can hop in there.
I bet. But I appreciate you coming on, man, for sure.
Sure.
Yes,
Appreciate you,
sir.
brother.